God!
A star-studded cast, a $110 million budget, a prime summer release date with relatively low competition, and an IP that has generated over $1 billion in video game sales, with an active, dedicated fanbase eagerly awaiting the fourth game installment. What could possibly go wrong? As it turns out, quite a lot. Borderlands opened to a disappointing $8.6 million domestically and shows no signs of gaining momentum, making it one of the year's biggest box office flops. In this video, we're going to share 3 insights, born out of our own advanced social listening, psychometric research, and online fan events that reveal how the film missed the mark so badly, and what the studio could have done to keep this thing from going off the rails. And no, we're not talking about the same stuff we covered in our pre-release video. You already know about the game of hot potato, or should I say hot grenade, that the multitude of writers were playing with the script, trying not to be the one holding it when it blew up in their face. Or the full-blown outrage that the casting choices brought on, with short, funny Roland, grandmas Lilith and Tannis, and eerily subdued Tina. But let's not forget that the Uncharted movie faced similar criticism, but still managed $44 million on its opening weekend. Or the scathingly negative early screening reviews, which scored the film as 0 on Rotten Tomatoes. But critics generally don't have the power to completely collapse a film the way Borderlands did, although they'd never admit that themselves. And while some may blame the modest marketing budget of $30 million for the film's flop of the year contending status, we've just seen how effective low-spend marketing campaigns can be with Neon's long legs. Not to mention any number of A24 hits. It's not how much you spend, but how you spend it that counts. And while you can't polish a turd, you can make it so shiny that people just have to get a look for themselves. Plenty of bad movies sell tickets because the marketing positions them as a fun ride for the whole family, or a mindlessly entertaining action flick, or it's got that actor you love from that one thing. But here, we're looking at how misunderstanding the audiences and how to appeal to them meant that no one wanted to see the Borderlands movie.
It's peak.
So without further ado, let's get into it. Insight 1. There was just too big a gap between what the audience wanted to see and what they were given. Take the posters that marketing created, for example. They bragged about being bold and colorful and creative, but that's just not the Borderlands aesthetic. See the difference here? The game posters are much simpler and built around one central psycho. When we gave fans a chance to make their own poster at our research event, 85% of fans and even 57% of non-fans used Krieg, you know, the psycho, like on the game posters, with only 12% using the hippie tie-dye style from the official marketing. The fans recognized that the psycho on the cover is an iconic symbol of the franchise, and the non-fans recognize that abs like that just can't be denied and must be front and center. Come on, Lionsgate, how could you not get that? We've talked a lot in our last video about the negative reaction to the trailer and the comments about how wrong the casting choices were, but there's a big lesson to be learned from the 17% of comments that compared the trailer to Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm poppin', y'all! Here's the thing, fans can usually let casting changes slide if the movie still captures the essence of the source material, or at least does something interesting with it. But the fact that Borderlands drew these comparisons shows a fundamental lack of understanding of what made the game so loved. They have their own unique tone and style that is more than just chaotic, irreverent humor and unhinged characters.
Cake is my weakness.
And trying to water that down for mass appeal leaves you with a diluted product that fans just can't connect with. This error in translating the games to the big screen spread across all of the marketing materials, and only served to further turn off the core fans. This was echoed when we tested alternate versions of certain creative elements, like the character intros, for example. Our research revealed that audiences strongly preferred the ones styled after the game's dynamic, Guy Ritchie-esque sequences, and ditching that style made fans even more sure that the people making this movie didn't really get the games. The glimmer of positivity in the marketing came from Silk Factory's 20-second clip, which actually boosted the film's theatricality. It was faster paced, lent on action and quick cuts, and more importantly proved that there were ways of delivering the movie to audiences that made it exciting and appealing. Insight 2. The marketing failed to reach the substantial existing fanbase, as well as adjacent audiences who would show an interest in the movie. Given the franchise's 77 million copies sold, generating more than $1 billion in sales, the potential was there for this film to be a huge hit, complete with fans cosplaying at theaters. But as we all know, that's not how it turned out, and most of the fans really did not like the look of this movie. But not only that, the film's marketing also failed to reach the fans of the star-studded cast members, as well as adjacent audiences. So a perfect 3 for 3. Fumbles. To be fair though, this wasn't from a lack of trying. We saw the interactive setup of Moxie's Bar at Comic-Con San Diego, and the Mountain Dew sponsored Wasteland Motel. And while this did generate some buzz, the Mountain Dew partnership pretty nicely explains where they fell down. Mountain Dew is OG gamer fuel for sure, but our research shows that 68% of Borderlands players between 18 and 34 associate more closely with newer brands like GamerSupps and G Fuel. The collaboration also stopped short of big moves, like releasing exclusive products to attendees of the event. Data shows that tie-in products can increase brand recall by up to 35% among target audiences. I know number crunching is for nerds, but they are trying to appeal to us. I mean gamers. It also seems like a no-brainer that if you're adapting a hugely popular video game franchise, maybe you should use the games to advertise your movie. We saw The Witcher 3 release DLC for the second season of the Netflix series, and Batman Arkham Knight released new skins after the release of the Batman. Even though the Borderlands movie is supposed to be separate from the universe of the games, some kind of tie-in or DLC really had the potential to boost hype and engagement. Even if DLC was a bit too ambitious, I mean we don't know what the film's finances look like, it seems like a massive missed opportunity to not at least coordinate with the trailer release for the long-awaited Borderlands 4. Something like releasing the game's teaser as theater-exclusive content in the first week of release could have significantly boosted attendance by tying the film in as an essential experience for fans of the games, especially as the teaser released just a couple weeks after the film did anyway. It also would have reassured the fans that Gearbox were in fact involved in the film, and that it somewhat had their blessing. Maybe we need to read between the lines there. Is it telling that it took Eli Roth 5.5 minutes into a 10-minute interview to even mention Gearbox?
I want it to be big and colorful.
Continuing the trend of good idea but fumbled execution, we can look at their influencer and content creator engagement. They did host popular Borderlands content creators at a premiere event.
I made sure to salute my brave commander, even though I know that was not Kevin Hart's actual costume because it was way too tall.
Great. But those who attended described it as underwhelming. Not so great. Actually, maybe worse than not having the event at all. There were efforts made to engage the cosplay community by sharing fan costumes on the studio's social media. Great, but they just succeeded in highlighting that the actual movie characters didn't look nearly as good as the fans did. Again, not so great. There are any number of ways of better engaging the content creator community, whether getting big streamers to do movie-inspired challenges with exclusive merch as prizes, or have them play co-op with the stars while they do a live Q&A. They could have even given all the donations to charity. That would have generated some great behind-the-scenes footage as well of the streamers discussing the intricacies of the characters with the corresponding actor, showing them nerding out on the game together. And honestly, you really can't underestimate how important it would have been to show that the actors, played the games and really got their characters. To be fair, all of this sounds expensive. Getting the cast involved is more day rates and appearance fees, but our research suggests the earning potential from properly engaging with content creators could be up to $12 million on opening weekend, which might just pay for Kevin Hart to play video games in his living room for a few hours.
Kevin, back up! Back up!
Speaking of behind-the-scenes footage, what was produced was pretty lackluster and missed an opportunity to speak to documentary fans and filmmaking enthusiasts, considering there was a heavily stylized and visually impressive world that was created. That was just about the only thing consistently praised in the comment sections. Well, that and Florian Montianu's hot bod. It seems you can't call yourself a blockbuster nowadays unless you have a stylized popcorn bucket, and Borderlands wasn't going to miss out on that. But the claptrap bucket felt lazy, almost like if you were to ask an AI to pitch some ideas for a Borderlands themed popcorn bucket, it would be literally the first thing on the list. Other notable merchandising missteps include LRG's Tiny Tina bunny ears, which none of the 2,500 plus attendees of our research event had heard of, and actually turned out to be less authentic looking than what you could buy on Etsy. Again, decent ideas, but fumbled execution. Plus, I mean, if we're gonna go obvious and borderline lazy, then what about a psycho mask? Come on, Lionsgate, you're better than this. We also have to talk about the missed opportunities with the star's own fans. I mean, Kevin Hart and Jack Black in an action comedy again? After what Jumanji did to the box office?
Hey, it's all good.
You gotta work that angle. There was also a noticeable lack of the cast on late night talk shows. And we know, appearance fee this and press clause that, but you gotta know what would be a good investment. I mean, once you've sunk $110 million into a movie, it's worth a few extra bucks to have the huge movie star cast tell people to go see it. Speaking of Jack Black, let's not forget that he is also a talented rock musician who's gone viral for his musical contributions to movies. Maybe there was an opportunity here for him to do it again. Maybe even collab with Cage the Elephant, whose hit song No Rest for the Wicked featured in the first game trailer. Maybe a cover. Maybe he sings with the band on Fallon. Again, it would at least tell the fans that the studio knows something about the history of the games. But the biggest adjacency for Borderlands is fans of animation, which makes us ask a deeper question that goes all the way back to pitch stage. Should this have been animated? Part of Borderlands' identity is its cel-shaded aesthetic, which was not translated to the big screen. And we've seen a slew of animated video game adaptations like League of Legends, Arcane, and Castlevania. You don't have to worry about casting actors that look like the beloved characters, and something like showing the character's special abilities, which were entirely lacking from the marketing, becomes a lot easier. Besides, animation is mainstream now. Hell, even Lord of the Rings is doing it. Insight 3. The marketing failed to convince the fans that this was a genuine love letter to the games, made by people who, had maybe actually played them.
What the hell? Tina, why we got a small mountain of RSVPs to your wedding? First off, you definitely ain't getting married, and second, where's my invitation?
The casting choices were the first sign that the source material was being thrown to the skags, with 3 of the 4 characters being drastically different to the games, and one now being some kind of chosen one?
But I am the chosen one.
But our research showed that 78% of fans were still willing to give it a chance, and we've seen from movies like Guardians of the Galaxy and Uncharted that changing your characters does not doom an adaptation. And actually, we found that generally the cast performances were well received, with Jack Black being especially praised. So if character changes aren't the problem, what was? Well, the PG-13 rating was one of the biggest hits to the theater attendance. We estimate it cost the film around $15 million on opening weekend alone. An odd enough choice to water down the violence of the games, but the change from its R rating also meant reshoots that increased the spend on the film, when we're living in the era of high-grossing R-rated action. I mean, Deadpool and Wolverine just surpassed Deadpool 1 for the highest grossing R-rated box office of all time.
Whose balls did I have to fondle to get my very own movie?
As we discussed in our pre-release video, what? You haven't seen it? Wow, that's embarrassing for you, but don't worry, the link is in the description. Eli Roth was a surprising choice for director given his horror background, but fans may have seen this again as a sign that the adaptation was not being done right. But overall, a director choice really only tends to affect the enthusiasm of high moviegoers, and less than 3% of the comments showed concerns for Roth's suitability. There was again a missed opportunity here for marketing to show Roth engaging with the game, whether as a longtime fan, if he was, or an enthusiastic newcomer. Either way, this would have gone a long way to reassure fans that their beloved franchise was in good hands. Another key factor that put fans off was the lack of the cel-shaded aesthetic of the games. While an unproven look for live action, it's not unprecedented with films like A Scanner Darkly employing it, albeit not very successfully.
Perfect homemade silencer.
But that was 2006, so the technology's moved on since then. The recent hit, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, used this style to set itself apart from the competition, and Borderlands could have taken a risk to do the same and stay true to the games. And finally, we can't talk about the heart of Borderlands without talking about guns. The games seemingly have a limitless supply of guns of all shapes, sizes, and accuracies, with each of the 12 manufacturers having unique features. And fans were pissed that this pillar of the Borderlands universe was lacking in the trailer. 62% of fans explicitly mentioned how little the guns featured in the trailers, and how few varieties we saw. I mean, how do you not include a gun that, when thrown, turns into a little robot turret that shoots at the enemy until it runs out of bullets, then explodes? All this to say, it's seldom easy to pin down why a movie bombed. And it seems that the bigger the flop, the more complex and nuanced the reasons. There are a lot of lessons to be learned from the Borderlands movie, and while we mourn the fact that we will likely not see another attempt at an adaptation anytime soon, at least the next one will have a roadmap of what not to do. Also, sinking some serious hours into Borderlands 4 should help distract from the pain too. Let's just hope it's better than Borderlands 3, but I digress. You can find all these insights and even more in the newsletter linked in the description. And don't forget to head over to Popcorn to tell the studios exactly what you think about the movies they make. And for more analysis like this, check out the other videos on our channel, linked on screen. Click me!